Coin traders, what is going on? Thanks for joining me for the show. Looking at Bitcoin BTC, Papa Bitcoin, a lot of great things right now and a nice breakout setup formation. I want to talk about the current levels right now. As you can see, we're in a very big zone here, right in between 67,352 all the way up to 71,644. So looking left, big points of price trading in this overall level, obviously briefly breaking it for the all-time high, now getting stuck up back in that zone. So it's actually kind of a good sign that we have seen kind of the prices getting stuck up in this overall level. Because like we talk about, the longer we actually do sit with this as a resistance zone, the more likely that when we do actually break out of it, it will kind of be that very nice support so we can head higher to the upside. Because as we do sit sideways and provide resistance, that's likely going to be established as support here when we do actually see a break above this and a rally on top of it. Now, one of the things I actually want to look at too is that if we go ahead and invert this chart, you can see that we're looking at a pretty clear head and shoulders type pattern. And then once we actually broke this neckline, pretty clear indication of more downside direction, especially after getting stuck up at this as quote unquote resistance. So if we actually go ahead and invert this once again back into its normal shape, you can see that it's basically all applicable still. So we're looking at an inverse head and shoulders, breaking that, and then now holding a very nice level of support. So extremely good bullish signs here, despite getting stuck up in this overall zone still. And if we actually go ahead and zoom in on the current, you can see that we are sitting, or we're sitting rather, in a period of tightening consolidation on the current daily candle, seeing a little bit of a breakout. And right now, still holding this very big level of support. So looking left, point of support, which you also still could call as the neckline for this inverted head and shoulders pattern. So next thing I want to look at, and I need to go ahead and clear up the chart here and specifically look at the support on this pullback of these exponential moving averages. So very nice support found and established on this daily chart in between the 12 and 26 period exponential moving averages. You can see that obviously held on to it for a little bit, that set a lower high and then broke below the 12 period, but still maintained support on top of the very nice 26. So especially now with a lot more upside candle, and despite having a current pretty big wick, and we're looking at about 11 minutes until this candle closes. So likely going to experience this big upper wick on this candle, which is kind of right now more than the magnitude of the size of the body, but still a good sign breaking above this 12 period EMA, especially after holding it as resistance for 2 candles already. And especially being able to break on top of this big price level resistance. So price found a new high despite not having a new higher high on the close, but we are looking at a couple new higher highs on the close in the shorter term, which as you can see starting to get stuck up, but do need to pass 69,400. Ideally, we would love to see price getting back above the $70,000 level. I think that would be a very good sign, but then ultimately all the way up until about 71,600. That would put us in the top of that zone here. And then ideally forming a close and holding the close on top of that level would be one of the best and most bullish cases here for Bitcoin right now in the shorter term. So just based on the current setup and time frame for this chart, I would expect a new all-time high to be coming in here within the next week or so. And that's just based off of the fact that right now, after a very nice strong move to the upside, very nice pattern of consolidation, especially now looking like we're going to break. Obviously, in the next day or two, that will be our confirmation whether we're going to get follow through and the next leg to the upside. But overall, it is still looking a little bit more hopeful and in favor of the bulls right now, especially given the signs, like we said, holding very nice support, seeing a little bit of tapering off in selling pressure and decreased volume, support not only on EMAs, but also price level support as well, and then a very nice breakout from this consolidation pattern. So we can actually go down to, for example, the 12-hour or even the 4-hour, and talk about just this nice consolidation pattern that we've been looking at. So this very nice breakout as well. And on breakouts, we do like to see a back test, confirming supports, especially right now off the EMAs or even the price levels that we're looking at down to about 68,600. And then from there, would love to see a little bit more follow through in upside direction. And then in that instance, if we can actually top out a price level above about 70,600, that's going to be one of the best signs that we actually see to take out the previous trend high. And then looking all the way left up to the current all-time high right now for Bitcoin, which currently does sit at 73,835.57. Now, we did just start the weekly candle, but if we actually zoom in here on the weekly, we are forming a third inside bar candle, and especially with this upper wick, looking a little bit more like a topping signal. So we could be seeing a retracement to actually pull back, set a higher low, and then go into a little bit more equilibrium and allow these exponential moving averages to catch up, be that support, and then head up once again. So that's a little bit more of a longer drawn out scenario. And kind of like we talked about, we do expect a decent amount of the time crypto to kind of just sit sideways due to historical reasons that typically in this time frame and at this stage of the cycle, we don't typically see a breakout, but also typically at this stage, we haven't found a new all-time high just yet as well, but a lot of other factors to consider, such as the ETFs and things like that. So got to look at the current 3-week candle setup. And if we don't break out bullish in the shorter term, that is pretty much going to look a lot more likely for a longer term equilibrium pattern for Bitcoin. So if we don't get that continuation and fall through out of Bitcoin in the next coming weeks, then that's pretty much going to solidify the longer term is going to be looking a lot longer term sideways, which could be a good thing for altcoins to allow altcoins to actually catch up and actually decrease the dominance here. Not necessarily a full-blown alt season just yet, but do see that as being a very likely and plausible scenario here. Dropping down into the 2-day really quick before we go ahead and wrap up. Still very nice overall pattern for Bitcoin, and despite finding our lows, immediately recovered. And that's what we talk about as being an invalidating signal here, is when we do actually break and then immediately invalidate that and recover on top back and reclaim levels of support, especially after it has been back tested and confirmed, especially with resistance being tested and confirmed as well. And obviously now back testing and confirming 12-period EMA on the weekly as support, and especially forming this nice flag continuation type pattern. Expecting a little bit more bullish upside out of this, especially with a little bit of decreased sell pressure. Obviously do need to see a lot more bullish volume coming in here, and especially with the way things have been more or less stagnating for the last few months here, going to be expecting a little bit more of an opportunity for the bulls to actually step it up. So whether or not we do see that, but we are expecting, especially if we do get a very nice breakout, and then assuming we do get a break of the new all-time high, that would be a blue sky breakout, price discovery, and likely in that instance, a lot more attention. That does typically flock a lot more volume into Bitcoin here. So pulling up technicals really quick here, looking at RSI relative strength index, specifically want to talk about, despite not being oversold, we actually do have a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders type pattern. And then obviously the thing about this chart for the RSI too, is that you can see that when we do have the RSI below the yellow line, which is the moving average for the RSI, we actually do start to trend to the downside a little bit more. And when we are on top of it, do have a little bit more of a stronger uptrend. So right now, since we have broken back on top of that, especially after breaking this inverse head and shoulders pattern on this RSI, very good sign to see an upside move, a back test of this moving average for RSI, and then now hopefully can continue to actually see path of least resistance trending to the upside and allowing this RSI a little bit more upside direction as well. So I think overall we are on the early stages of a very nice initial breakout. And like we said, despite some initial selling pressure, that is good for a back test on the shorter term. We also need to see fall through continuation over the coming days. And ideally, we would love to see a lot more increasing volume, especially since volume for Bitcoin as a whole hasn't necessarily been that much over the last couple of months here. But as always, definitely let me know your comments, predictions, issues, disagreements, all that stuff down in the comment sections below. Do love hearing from every one of you, and also reach out over on Twitter or X at @coin_trades is the handle over there. That is going to be wrapping it up for now, though. So do appreciate all the continued love and support. If you have enjoyed the show, appreciate hitting the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you haven't done so just yet. But otherwise, that is it for now. So stay safe, take care, coin traders, and I'll catch you back in the next video.